Honorable Member for St. James North.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Uh, First, wish to congratulate our colleague, the Honorable Member for St. Michael North, on the tremendous work he's done in the last 3 years almost in terms of his ministerial management of this ministry, and we know it's been hard work. He's had to battle with international pressures from the developed world in terms, and as he has said, not of this government's doing, but you know, he has ably cleaned up the mess and brought us to a situation where we're off the blacklist now. And I wanted to give Honorable Member or his team, maybe the Registrar of Corporate Affairs, the opportunity to expand a bit more in terms of what is being done at the Corporate Affairs Department in easing our ability or the ability of the ordinary citizen to do business with that department. I know he spoke about, the Honourable Member spoke about the digitalization, not only of that department but of his ministry, and I believe there is a study going out at present with that department to improve its efficiency. We know that 10 years ago, even less, 8 years ago, it was taking 2 weeks, even longer sometimes, to actually form a company, whereas in our competitors, even within CARICOM, even within the Caribbean region, a company could have been formed in 1 day, and clearly we did not have the competitive edge there. So, you know, if for the benefit of Parliament and the general public, we could hear a bit more in terms of what is being done at the corporate registry to make life easier, to improve the efficiency of that department, extremely important department in terms of formulation and establishment of companies, because we all know that this is one of the means by which we could economically enfranchise our people and create greater wealth among our people in terms of business expansion and entrepreneurship.
Just before I turn you over to the acting registrar, honorable member, just to let you know that your primary fare can be allayed, and you would know that one of the benefits of the digitalization would be actually the incorporation of a company now in between 2 to 6 business hours. But I'll let the acting registrar give you a lot more information.
Sorry, I'm afraid the sound is out.
Madam Chair?
There you go.
Okay. I am Tamisha Rochester. I am the Acting Registrar for the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office, and I will speak on the transformation of the Corporate Affairs and Intellectual Property Office that we are now embarking on. And the purpose, of course, is to ensure the ease of doing business and to ensure that it is as easy as possible for business persons to be able to complete their corporate filings and corporate responsibilities and as seamless as possible. What we are trying to do is bring the office into the 21st century by modernizing its operations and increasing the efficiency of the office by drastically reducing the timelines for processing. This is even more critical in light of the current situation with the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the measures we've been forced to put in place in order to ensure continuity of business during the physical limitations on the movement of persons. So currently, KIPO utilizes a system called the AS400, whereby persons, if they're filing online, they must first register with KIPO. They deposit funds on an account, and they're able to submit their documents to our online system. However, the back-end processing is still the same as a manual system. So our officers still have to retrieve the files and have to process the documents manually. It is not a straight-through system. What we are looking at, and as the Minister Toppin said, we are in the final stages of negotiating the contract for a system that can provide a straight-through processing from filing of the document up to the issuance of the certificate, fully online, utilizing the latest technology and smart forms, etc., where persons enter the required information directly into the database, and it is automatically uploaded and saved to the database, and it utilizes the smart technology for the processing, generates the certificate, and returns it back to the person electronically, all within 2 to 6 business hours. And this goes not only for the incorporation of companies and the registering of business names, but also for the post-incorporation matters. So there are several matters such as amendments to company articles, continuances, discontinuances, dissolution of companies, a wide range of activities and transactions a company may perform that are either done by the old-fashioned paper method in the office or by our limited system using the AS400 platform that we currently use. So these will all be included on the online system for the full straight-through processing. So it means that a user can log in to the website. You just select whichever transaction you're doing. All of the information is there, and it guides you as you go through each field, so that when you enter and you click submit, we know that we are getting information in our database that is correct, that is accurate, and that is in accordance with the legislation that is in force. What we have found with the current system using the old paper method is that a lot of the times there is back and forth over the documentation, and persons forgetting to fill in items and items that do not conform to the legislation, etc. So what this new system will do is eliminate all of that. It will have the built-in checks and verification processes so that when you enter information into a field, it is guaranteed to be the right information for that field, and also guaranteed to conform to all of the parameters that are existing for that piece of information. So as I said, it will result drastically in the reduced timelines, and also make it easier for persons, the average person, to be able to complete the forms and complete their filings, being guided by the system. Now we also have built in addition to the requisite training, etc., we also recognize that there will be persons who may not be au fait with technology. We are also making provision for a help desk service where they can get assistance at the office to complete the filings, to fill out the form using our resources, our computers, what have you, on the system. So those persons will not be left out by any means. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rochester. Madam Chair, 2 follow-up questions I believe I can have. One would be on intellectual property, industrial designs. I believe I am correct in saying that we haven't really had any fundamental change in legislation in terms of industrial design since the Act came into force in 1985, I believe it was. It might have been one or two slight amendments, but nothing in terms of fundamental change. And of course, this is a major area dealing with protection of proprietary rights of inventors, and there must be legislative grounding for people to feel confident in terms of, you know, their entrepreneurship, their creativity, their innovation, for inventions and progressive advancement in terms of business ideas and concepts and thoughts. And I'm just wondering if the Honorable Minister, or again, maybe someone senior in his team, could give the Parliament and Barbados an idea into the policy basis in advancing the cause, or any legislative proposals in terms of advancing protection of intellectual property rights and industrial designs.
In relation to the intellectual property aspect of the office, and in particular the industrial designs, Barbados has signed on to the TRIPS agreement, and one of the provisions of that agreement, in addition to trademarks, copyright, etc., it includes the basic minimum requirements that any country's legislation should have for industrial designs. So one of our exercises we're currently undergoing is a review of not only the industrial designs legislation, but all of the intellectual property legislation to ensure compliance with TRIPS and to make sure that we are as up to date and as current as possible. I know recently completed was the draft of the copyright legislation, which is at the stage of a cabinet paper. And also on the cards is the review of the trademarks legislation and the other intellectual property legislation. Thank you.
And thank you, Madam Registrar, for that information. And my final intervention on under this head, Madam Chair, would be on double taxation agreements. Honorable Minister spoke about bilateral investment treaties that we are in train with other sovereign states globally, but I'm wondering about double taxation agreements. Again, this was a thrust that would have started under previous Barbados Labour Party administration in earnest, and under the Right Honourable Tom Adams. And just wondering where we are at, what is the policy in going forward in terms of acquiring more or entering into more double taxation agreements with sovereign states for the benefit of Barbados.
Just to say, honorable member, that we currently have 40 double taxation agreements, including CARICOM. We have 11 bilateral investment treaties, and we intend to roll out as many with strategically as possible. But I would ask the Director of International Business, who obviously feels left out today so far, to give you a bit more insight.